Annette, you are muted, my darling. Hi, everybody.
All right. A big welcome today to everyone joining us and wishing all a bright and beautiful holiday season. I'm Annette Munich, co-host of Father Shawn's Paranormal Ministry here on UPRN Talk Radio 107.7 FM, New Orleans, and 105.3 FM, Gulf Coast. Unfortunately, Father Shawn is not with us today due to illness, and all of your thoughts and prayers on his behalf are very welcome. Father Shawn is a permanent cast member from Eli Roth Presents The Legion of Exorcists on Travel Channel, and also available to watch on Max and Discovery Plus. He is a priest with the Old Catholic Church and author of God, Ghosts, and the Paranormal Ministry, Volumes 1 and 2, plus our new book together and with contributors called Help Me, I'm Haunted. All are available on Amazon in paperback and Kindle. Signed copies from Father Shawn are available on his website, ghostbegone.biz. I'm the owner of Stellium Books and a lifelong paranormal experiencer and author. Our special guest today is the very talented Bobby J. Gallo. Bobby is an author and producer of Gallo Family Ghost Hunters in its 7th season, which is available on YouTube. He is also a fabulous contributor to our new Help Me, I'm Haunted book, where he wrote a detailed article on portals, which we will discuss today. So we extend a warm Paranormal Ministry family welcome to Bobby J. Gallo.
There we go. There we go. Looks like I was muted too.
Oh no. Maybe we've got a ghost in the system. We've already been through a lot. It has happened before.
That happens.
It has happened before.
Absolutely.
I've had some shows with a lot of interference from I just think it's the topic or the person. I don't want to blame you. I don't want to say it's Bobby's fault, but for different reasons, something wants to get in there and hold it back. And I also have that happen with the books I'm doing. Sometimes I have a lot of paranormal experiences and they get into the computer. And I've had where I'm working on a book and all the page numbers are scrambled. The pictures for the book are all upside down and it's being messed with because there's information in there that they don't want going out into the world. So, they mess with electronics very easily. So we can blame it on that a little bit because I came here and I sat down and I was having my computer was just being slow and weird. And then my mic had always worked before except for today.
I completely agree with that. There's an old saying, and I could actually say it on this show because it's Father Shawn's show, and he's a Catholic priest, that the devil's greatest, I would say, scheme or his greatest trick is to believe people he doesn't exist.
Right.
And when we talk about subject matter like this,
right,
we are showing people that the afterlife, these other realms do exist, and they don't like that.
They don't want that.
Nope. They want everybody to be secular. They want everybody to think this is all there is because it's easier to manipulate people when people don't have a spiritual side.
Well, yeah. Well, I think the saying is that his best trick is convincing people he doesn't exist.
Correct.
And it was interesting because the third time I restarted my computer, I did pray to Archangel Michael to help me.
I think that was great.
And then I came and I looked and I was back in the studio and it said, your mic is working. And I did nothing to really fix the mic. I checked my mic settings. It said it was on, but obviously it wasn't. So, you know,
Yep.
mysterious things that happen. But here
Yep.
we are. I really didn't want to cancel the show.
Oh, I'm happy. I'm happy we didn't have to cancel either, and I am even happier that I was privileged to be a part of this
Oh,
unbelievable
lovely.
book right here, folks. And that's me right there on the bottom, Bobby J. Gallo, and that was great. It was really an honor.
Thank you. We're so happy to have you. And what you wrote was very detailed, very easy to understand. And he wrote an article for the book on portals, which we thought we'd talk about today. And that book, Help Me, I'm Haunted, that's available on Amazon. And it has a lot of good information in there. Um, we just decided to do that in July. And I spent all of October putting that book together to get it out on Halloween. And I'm really happy with the contributors. Carl Supp is in the chat, and he wrote a chapter for it. Well, he wrote an article for it. And we tried to compile the best that we could, um, good information, and ask different people and ask people that um, may have their own point of view on it, their own experiences with it. It's not all 100%, one point of view. There's a lot of people coming at it their own way. And
Correct.
that's the way the paranormal is, in my opinion. If any one person had all the answers, uh, then we would be able to do a lot more with it than what we can.
Correct. Absolutely. And Red Light in the chat said ghost hunters. Yes, I'm a ghost hunter, paranormal investigator, anything you want to call me. I've been actually doing this since 1989. So I've seen just about everything. And when Annette reached out to me, she asked me if I could do. I don't know. I think you gave me several subjects, and
Yeah.
when you said portals, I said, yeah, well, portals is something I can talk about because I have personal experience with them. And I was talking with Michelle before the show that I talk about it from the point of view of the experiences that I've had, because we could read lots of books and a lot of it is anecdotal, a lot of it is theory, but when you talk about it from the point of view of actually experiencing them, it holds a little bit more weight, in my opinion.
And I love that you picked portals because, in my opinion, in my experience, and I'm not a ghost hunter, and everyone always thought that I was. And they'd invite me on things, and I'd just be like, well, we could do a lock in. We'll be locked in till 7 a.m. I'm like, no, I don't want to. How much does that ticket to that PTSD cost? No, thank you. Well,
That's the
something
whole
might happen. Something will happen.
correct.
But,
Well, that's
like,
the whole thing, with, a lot of the subject matter and Help Me, I'm Haunted. And, a lot of people that Father Shawn deals with, sometimes the hauntings happen out of the blue. But we as paranormal investigators, we run toward the fire.
right,
And that's the difference.
right,
We're looking, and why do we do this? Why would we want to do this? Because we're looking for evidence. A lot of people out there, they don't have that assurance of the whole life after death thing. Some people have more faith than others. And I
right,
always point to St. Thomas in the Bible, that he didn't believe. He walked with Jesus. He saw all the miracles. He saw everything, but he still didn't believe until he could see the risen Jesus and put his fingers in Jesus's side and see the holes in his hand. And I think there's a little bit of St. Thomas in a lot of people. I know there's a little bit in me. Even though I was raised Roman Catholic, I still want to know. I want that assurance. I want that validation that everything that has been told to me all throughout my childhood is true. And now people ask me, they go, well, do you believe in ghosts at this point? I says, well, I passed the point of belief a long time ago.
Right.
I've seen them, I've heard them, I've felt them, I've recorded them, I've taken pictures of them. They're there, folks. And if they are not ghosts, then what are they?
Right.
Uh, and from a Catholic point of view, I believe they are spirits that have not moved on and might and being stuck here on earth, and we call them earthbound spirits, might even be what purgatory is. We don't know. They're here to learn the lessons before they can move on. Of course, some of them are darker, and Father Shawn would be the first one to agree with that. Some of them may even be demonic in nature. They may not be the ghosts of human spirits at all, but actual demons. But then people say, well, if they're stuck here, where do portals come in? Where, what is this thing about portals? I mean, if they're already here, why do they need a portal? And the short answer is that there is a veil. Everybody's heard the term the veil, and at certain times of the year, the veil is thinner. And what portals are places, locations where the veil is at its thinnest, and it's easier for those spirits or entities on the other side to enter this plane of existence. They're all around us anyway, but sometimes it's not easier for them to interact or even see us. I believe though that places where there are portals, where that veil, that energy field that is keeping them on the other side is very, very thin, and one or a whole lot of them can come through at one time.
Well, with the portals, that's a really interesting topic, and portals can also be, I believe, man-made by people dabbling and doing black magic or whatever, and it can be created.
Right.
And then there's natural portals, and there's natural portals and things like that outdoors as well. But once you have a portal and you might want to close it, that can be a little bit more daunting, but I believe that they can be closed. I believe that what was done can be undone. I'm also Catholic, by the way. If someone started that, someone could finish that. But I think that there's a lot of people that get involved in things, and they think it'll be cool to find out and whatever. Let's see what happens, and the next thing you know, it's a big problem.
It can be a problem, and it was a problem for us at some points as well. So I'll be the first to say that anybody who goes into this field, you need to do your homework, because you can unleash things that are very, very hard to get rid of. And I talk about it in this great new book, Help Me, I'm Haunted, right here, because we opened a portal and we had something follow us home, and it was for months. Everybody uses the term, it was a living hell. It was a living hell for months, until a priest, an exorcist, and a shaman was finally able to get rid of this thing. I see what Red Light is saying. He believes in reincarnation. A lot of people do. Believe it or not, even as a Catholic, and we're not supposed to believe in reincarnation, I'm kind of on the fence about it, but I don't believe there's one steadfast rule on that.
Right.
I think you choose whether or not you want to come back or not. So I don't think it's automatic. And maybe my Buddhist friends will disagree with me on that. And then here's another one. If you don't believe in ghosts, then you also don't believe in God, and vice versa. I think, honestly, if you believe in God, how can you not believe in ghosts? But some people don't.
That's such really an interesting thing, because I've come across a lot of people that they're having problems with spirit world, and they don't believe in God.
Right.
So you live in an environment where you already know that this world is not all there is. You know that.
Correct.
but you don't believe in God. In some instances, that makes it really hard to help somebody.
Absolutely.
And I've also run across people that believe in demonic and don't believe in God. A lot of people that believe in God, but they don't believe in demons. But now I'm running across people that believe in demons, but not God. And to me, that's two sides of the same coin.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we run across this a lot in the paranormal field, where people want to pick and choose what they want to believe. Well, I don't want to believe in God, because if I believe in God, then he's going to hold me accountable for my lifestyle, or he's going to judge me about, the clothes I wear. And we all know that that's, I mean, I guess to a point that might be true, but somebody's got to be in charge. And, there's a hierarchy to everything. And either the spirit world is real, or it isn't. And to me, one thing absolutely validates the other. So I'm with you on that. I don't know how that works, that people do not believe in God, but yet will believe in a spirit world. But then again, it goes back to the devil's greatest trick was convincing people he doesn't exist.
Right,
Because I have talked to people that attend, that are self-proclaimed Satanists, and they attend the Satanic Church, and the Satanic Church says, well, we really don't believe in the devil as an actual figure. He's just a symbol. I'm like, well, look at that. The old saying that the devil's greatest trick is believing he doesn't exist, and he starts with his
right,
own flock.
right, right. Well, the Satanic Bible, I a long time ago I had my own show. My microphone worked back then, and it was a lot easier. But one of the people that I would cross promote with, he started talking about the Satanic Bible, and he said, you should take a look at this. And I did look at it just to see what is all this about. And it's basically do what thou wilt. It is a philosophy of hedonism.
Right.
That's what it
Right.
is.
But yet they will use the image of Baphomet, which is an archdemon,
Right.
and they will wear sigils with his image on it, or her image, because it's like a male coat with breasts, and it's just this weird conglomeration. Um, and yet they'll say he doesn't exist. Folks, wake up. I mean, seriously, if you just wanted to have a hedonistic religion without a deity, then do it. But don't call yourself the Church of Satan, because if you're calling yourself the Church of Satan, it's the Church of Satan.
Right.
And the head of that church is literally using you as a pawn, and convincing you he doesn't exist. And you're buying right into it. It's just, to me, it's mind-boggling. And those places are prime candidates for portals, because what they're doing is they're letting it all in, because the easiest person to manipulate is the person who doesn't believe.
Yeah. And when I had my show back in the day, and I received a lot of emails, and a lot of them were from kids that thought it would be funny to do this, that, or the other thing. And now they're in a jam and they don't know how to make it stop. And,
Right.
It's really sad. And there's a lot of that. Um, and you can think that it's harmless, or think that, well, like Ouija boards were sold, with the games. Even back, when I was a kid. Um, and maybe you'd use it 10 times and nothing happened, but maybe the 11th time something would. Because it's really just extending an invitation out into the universe for anything.
Correct.
It's like going to
Correct.
bed at night and leaving your door wide open.
Right.
Um,
And we also have to realize that we do not know what these things are.
right,
Even as a ghost hunter, I don't know it's a ghost. I don't know what it is. I can't see it. I know it's there. I know it's reacting intelligently on my ITC equipment, which is an acronym for instrumental trans communication.
yeah,
I know it's answering questions, But do I know for sure it's a ghost? Do I know it's a demon? Do I know it's an extraterrestrial? I don't know any of those things. I know what
Right.
it's telling me, but is it deceiving me? It might be. I mean, if I talk to my fundamentalist Christian friends, they're always going to say it's a demon because they believe in what I call the cosmic vacuum cleaner theory, which is like when you die, you're either sucked up to heaven or you're sucked down to hell, and there's no in between, and you have no choice in the matter. I don't believe that. I'm a Catholic. There's an intermediate state called purgatory. And if you read a lot of Catholic websites, that's actually now the new mode of thinking, that purgatory may actually be the realm of ghosts. Sister Faustina, who's now Saint Faustina, in her diaries, she says she used to go to the cemetery and talk to the spirits in purgatory. So she used to go to the cemetery and talk to ghosts. So when we're in cemetery and we're talking to ghosts, perhaps they are souls in purgatory. The only caveat to that is something that we experience all the time on investigations, and that's called forbidden. I call it forbidden knowledge. Sometimes they're not allowed to answer certain questions. We'll ask them their name, they'll answer it. We'll ask them how they died, they'll answer it. As soon as we ask them, is this purgatory? Can you tell me, is your present state, is that what we term as all communication ceases? Like they're not allowed to answer that question. And we find that with a lot of spiritual questions that they're not allowed to answer it. And I find that very puzzling. But to what you were saying before about inviting things, a lot of times, whenever you're doing an investigation or you're ghost hunting, whether you're using dowsing rods, hopefully you're not using a Ouija board, but even you're communicating through a piece of equipment, you're technically conducting a seance. And when you do that, you are inviting them. You're asking them to interact with you.
Right.
And sometimes more than one will come through. And that's when you can open up what we call a portal. And a portal is, and once some of these spirits on the other side know that there's a living person that wants to communicate, it's party time.
Yeah.
And they come through. And we've had multiple. In fact, when we had our issue, it wasn't one, it was a legion of spirits, because at one point during the infestation, I like to call it, they attacked me. And they were predominantly attacking another member of my family. But one night I got so angry and I was so tired of it. I said, stop tormenting them. Come and get me. Come and get me. And Annette, no sooner did I say that, I will never forget this as long as I live. All of a sudden in my head, I heard a crowd of people, all this gibberish talking. They were trying to get in, and I couldn't believe it. All of a sudden I realized, wow, it's really happening. They're really coming for me. And that's when I knew it wasn't like a psychological thing. I knew this was real.
Yeah.
It's terrifying.
Back in the day, I was in two groups in the Ghost Box community when it was still kind of new. This was after Frank's Assumption and the Frank's Box, but this was when the Shack Hack was coming online, and things like the Paranormal, Puck, and different devices, including the Obelisk. And so I was in these groups, but I didn't have a ghost box. I was just interested in the research and development of it.
Right.
And we were friends on Skype, and there would be from time to time calls for help and prayers. People were using it in their house. And it started making me think that it's not just something that you take it somewhere and it is in that ambient area where you take it. I started thinking that it actually attracts.
Right.
So anything in that area could show up. And if you're using it in your house, it's showing up in your house. So I'm
Right.
not going to say any names, but one of the guys that was a researcher and developer, he got on Skype and you could hear it sounded like an army walking across his wooden floors.
Yep. Yep. And that's why in both of my books, I wrote two books on the paranormal, just in case anybody wants to know. I wrote Family Spirits, and this is all of our experiences ghost hunting as a family. And I also wrote Family Spirits too. In both of these books, one of my cardinal rules of investigation, if you're going to do it, is do not ghost hunt in your house.
Yeah,
Do not ghost hunt in your sacred space,
yeah,
because once they come in, it is tough to get out. And by the way, Infinite Joy, she said before, you're not meant to know. When I said communication ceases when we ask a relevant philosophical or metaphysical question, I totally agree with you on that. We are not meant to know. And that's why. Um, so I just wanted to answer that really quick. And also, Overbuilt Automotive 1299 says, Bobby, I bet that was terrifying times 1000. Absolutely, it was.
right.
But it was also eye opening. So, I mean, it was educational for me. So yeah, absolutely. But that's the thing. And you can't, I say in the book, Help Me, I'm Haunted. If you open up a portal, you better know how to close it. And there are ways to close portals. And sometimes a portal will be open and it wasn't your fault. There was always a portal there.
Right.
It could be, if anybody's familiar with ley lines, and those are energy lines that intersect at certain points. A lot of times there's portals at those points where they intersect. So I mean, there could be a portal for any number of reasons.
Right.
But and those are usually, because listen, folks, I'm going to tell you right now, ghosts are everywhere.
Right.
Because heaven's not up here, hell's not down there.
Right.
It's everywhere. It's a different dimension.
Right.
We just occupy a different dimension. So they're everywhere. But some places are deemed haunted. Why are some places deemed haunted? Those are the places where portals have been opened. Oh, they're going to be more active than other places. Cemeteries are notoriously haunted and many times have portals. And you know why? Because of the grief that is expended there. People go there and they pour out their heart to their lost loved ones, and they want signs, and they're asking for signs in that sacred space. And a lot of times these portals are opened. So a lot of that's one reason. There's other reasons, I believe, why cemeteries are haunted, but that would be one reason.
Well, there was a guy that I knew that did kind of an interesting experiment, and he was in a cemetery. And I think all cemeteries have spirit energy. I'm one of those that I think the word haunted is misused, because haunted means something's attached to there all the time. But you can have visitations. Something could happen in your house. It doesn't mean it's haunted. It doesn't mean it's haunted forever. It doesn't have to mean that at all. We are living in a world of all different kinds of energies, including angelic. I feel like I get a lot of just little angelic signs that maybe prayers have been heard. And it's important when something happens to think, what was I just doing before that happened? What was I thinking? What was I listening to? Whatever, because sometimes it could be you were just talking about XYZ and now boom, you got a validation.
Right.
But this guy had an experiment, and he was in a cemetery, and he had a psychic medium, and she said that she saw a woman, and everyone started taking pictures. And on some pictures, it looked like a mist. On some pictures, it looked like orbs. So it almost is suggesting that all these different things could be different stages of manifestation, energetic.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. 100%. In fact, and by the way, hi, Todd and Carmela. And I just want to really quick answer the question that Overbuilt Automotive has. He said, Bobby, how did you get rid of that horde that got in your head? Okay, that's a really good question, and I didn't answer that. You know, before this was called the paranormal, this was called psychic phenomenon. Psychic means it happens in your head. So I basically mustered up all the will that I could, and I told him to get out. And I was very, very forceful. And I used some really colorful language when I did it. And believe it or not, that worked. Immediately it ceased. So a big part of this is you have to have a strong will. If you feel like you're getting attacked, you got to be very forceful, and you have to summon all that will you have and all the faith that you have. I'm big on the Saint Benedict medal, but that's not a talisman. You have to have faith that that's going to work, for that exorcism that's inscribed on that to actually take effect. But that's basically what happened. But Annette, getting back to what you were just saying about how these things manifest, in my first book, Family Spirits, which is this one right here, I actually have a series of pictures where a spirit actually did start as an orb about that big, and then blew up into a cloud of ectoplasm, ectoplasm, and then finally morphed into a full body apparition standing right next to me. So what you just described is something that I've actually experienced, and we've experienced it in real time because my daughter was taking the pictures with an infrared camera, because, by the way, infrared is a spectrum of light that we cannot see but can be captured on an infrared camera. She got it. The orb, the ectoplasm cloud that was seen sucking energy out of our EVP recorder while it was captured in order to get the energy to manifest into a full body apparition. So we got all of that. So kudos to you on that. You are 100% right.
And it makes sense too, because we think of all these things as different things, and you can write about them as different things, but also they can be just spirit energy and different stages of the same kind of thing. Like
Right.
a lot of people discount orbs, and it could be dust and it could be bugs, but a lot of times it isn't. An orb looks luminous.
Yes.
And orbs in your house, you can say what you think if you think it's different. It doesn't have to be a sign that you've got a serious problem.
No.
If
In
all you
fact,
have as evidence is orbs,
look
that's
at
an energetic
right.
presence, but it doesn't mean that you have to be afraid.
100%. Well, okay. Let me just first of all, I'm an orb guy. You're not going to get any fight from me. I will say from the get go, and I just talked about this subject on my show with Todd and Carmela, who are watching this show right now. Um, Orbs. There are things that could cause orbs in a camera. So I'm going to say that from the get go. There's something called lens flare. Lens flare is easily identifiable and is often misconstrued as a spirit orb. There are occasionally a bug will cross the lens, but you could tell it's a bug. Oftentimes you can see the wings. You know a spider web when you see it because it looks like a strand. But there are those orbs, especially the round ones that have a membrane around the circumference. To me, that's a telltale sign of a paranormal orb. And there have been scientific books written on this subject, one by Klaus Heinemann, PhD. He's a NASA scientist. He wrote a book called The Orb Project. He is convinced that they are paranormal. He will also talk about lens flare, but he did scientific tests. He's gotten orbs in clean rooms where there is no dust. He's gotten orbs underwater. He's gotten orbs with the lens cap still on the camera. He's gotten orbs in the most inane places, and he's gotten them on command, as have I. And recently, the experience that I write about in our first book, Family Spirits, I asked AI what the odds are for a series of pictures that I took. if it were to be a piece of dust. And AI said it's 1 in a trillion for it to be
Yeah.
dust. So
We-
that is what we call a statistical impossibility. Now, a lot of people will ask, well, why are they manifesting as orbs and not just full body apparitions all the time? It's energy. An orb to manifest as an orb, and this is my theory, takes the least amount of energy for a spirit to do. In order to manifest as a person like you or I, maybe a little fainter, takes a lot more energy. They may not have that because if anybody's ever been on a paranormal investigation, the first thing you're going to notice is how drained you are after the investigation is over. We call it paranormal hangover. And the theory is that spirits need energy to manifest or move objects or answer questions or any of that. So if they don't have anything in the immediate area to take energy from, like, perhaps maybe they'll take it from your camera, which is why these things go dead and we get battery drain. They're going to take it from you. And that's why you feel so drained. So if it's a ghost that's not too nasty, let's just put it that way, they may only form as an orb, as a means of communication or an answer to your question, because a lot of times we'll ask them, will you pose to take a picture? And through one of our pieces of equipment, it'll say yes. And that's when I go to one of my team members. I'm like, start taking pictures. We're going to get something. And more times than not, we do. But sometimes it's just an orb. It's not a full body apparition, or it's an ectoplasm cloud, which is an apparition that's not fully formed. All of these things can happen depending on how much energy they have.
What's interesting too is that, and we've had here recently because we have a creek by the house, and there's a Indian burial ground, Native American burial ground behind the house next door. And my daughter was taking pictures of the full moon, and there's an orb. And she kept taking pictures. We couldn't see it with the naked eye at all. And it would be in different places over the creek. And it was big, not as big as the moon, but it was not a little itty bitty thing. It was large, about the size of a medium sized bird. And you could not see it with your naked eye at all.
Right. And 90% of the time, if you present that evidence to a skeptic, they're going to say it's dust, dirt, pollen, moisture. I've even heard radioactive isotopes. No, I'm not kidding. Lens flare, which sometimes it can be, but they're going to say anything except paranormal. And I always ask them, I'm like, well, what does it have to be? If it was paranormal, what are the criteria? Well, it has to give off its own light source. Well, a lot of times we get ones that give off their own light source. That's very common, in fact, for us to take pictures of orbs like that. But Todd and Carmela, who are listening to the show, will agree with one thing: timing and relevance. Timing, when did it appear? Did it appear when you asked it to? There are times when I've asked a spirit to appear and boom, there's an orb. And yet there's no orbs in any other pictures in the entire investigation. Only when I asked it to appear. And here's a question for you that I asked on my show the other night. What percentage of time is dust in the air? What do you think, Annette?
All the time.
All the time, 100%. So if dust is in the air 100% of the time, we should be getting orbs in every picture, or nearly every picture, but we don't. And a lot of times I could take over 100 pictures during an investigation, and the only time that orb appears is when we asked it to appear.
Right.
So I'm sorry. The dust, the whole dust thing, it's too simplistic an answer. It just is. It doesn't answer all the other questions.
We're to the point where some people just don't want to believe. So there's no amount of evidence you can give them. And it's just a waste of your time, because I even know people that went through a paranormal experience and 6 months later, they've talked themselves out of it. And they're like, no, well, it was just a draft. There were no windows open. It was a draft.
Right.
Okay. it just turns over their apple cart too much. They don't want to believe in it. It makes
They
their
don't.
life complicated.
I'm gonna do something. I'm also reading the chat as you're talking, and there's some great interaction in the chat. This is really a great audience tonight. Um, this is one of the largest orbs we ever caught. If you can see that right there,
Wow. Yes. Yes.
that thing was probably 2 foot across,
Yeah.
and and I got that at a spot where we were hearing growling in the back of a barn.
Oh,
like
wow.
like nasty growling, and I went over to investigate. Said, let's take some shots over there, and that's what appeared. But I'm going to show the audience what I was talking about before. You're going to see right here, and I'm going to try to get this in there. That's a picture of my wife, and you'll see the ectoplasm cloud hovering around her EMF detector. You can literally
Yes.
see the energy being sucked out. See
Wow.
that?
Yeah.
Here's where this was nothing. There was nothing happening in that picture. And then this one. And now I'm going to show you the final result. You guys ready for this? And this is in my book, Family Spirits. Right there, standing next to me, that's me on the left. That's my back, which is my better side.
Ah.
And on the right-hand side, you'll see my wife in the foreground, but on the right-hand side, that is a ghost.
Wow.
You can see the cloak.
Yeah.
You can see the head, very clear,
Wow.
right there. And here's the thing. When that happened, my daughter, who was taking the pictures, is freaking out because she sees it through the LCD viewfinder. In fact, let me see. It was actually taken with this camera right here.
Wow.
So she sees it happening right here on the screen.
Yeah.
But since it was infrared, she couldn't see it with the naked eye. Okay. It was only through the viewfinder, and she's freaking out. And it was only until we did evidence review that I was just blown away.
That's some really powerful pictures, really great captures.
Yeah, we seem to get a lot of them and I think it's the intention that we approach the investigation with. We're very sincere, and I think they communicate with us because of our sincerity. Because I know a lot of people that are just in this for fame and fortune, which is the subject of my second book, which I interviewed Father Shawn in.
Yeah.
And those people, a lot of times they'll come up to me and they never get any evidence. And they're like, well, I don't believe I don't get anything when I go out. I said, because you're doing it for clicks and you're doing it for notoriety and fame. And they know that. When we go, we're trying to get answers.
So I have a question about asking for positive forces. And I'm not a paranormal investigator, but I have asked for positive reinforcement on prayers, on angels, on things like that. It's not all about, looking for something and going after it in a negative way at all.
Right.
And not every place that has activity is haunted. If you really believe that you're living in a spirit world, and then your whole life can be an interaction on a degree or another between prayer and anything else that might be happening around you. It was not too long ago, my daughter and I were driving home, and it was at night, and we went around a bend in the road, and I say to her, if I just saw something, do you want me to tell you? And she said, Mom, I saw that man too.
Ah, wow.
And we knew he was a ghost because he only had, like from his hips up, he had no legs.
Okay. Well, there you go. That's better validation than you're going to get anywhere else.
Right.
Right.
But sometimes you think maybe I'm the only one that saw it. Sometimes you are, sometimes you're not.
And absolutely. And to answer Infinite Joy's question, why don't you ask some positive forces to appear? Well, you can do that. But when, as paranormal investigators, we're investigating locations that have a reputation for a certain type of haunting. For
Yeah.
instance, you're going into a haunted house that is supposedly haunted by the lady in white who comes down the stairs 9 o'clock every night. So that's who we're going to try to find.
Right.
Because there's already a reputation for that, and that's the validation that we're looking for. We're trying to validate that particular haunting. Or we go to a certain cemetery that has some type of reputation, which the photos that I just showed you, that was exactly the case. That small family-owned cemetery, which we had permission to investigate, was said to be haunted by this particular spirit. So we went to find him, and we found him. So that's what we do. Now, you can go to a church, you can go to a holy site, and you could pray and ask for an angel to visit you. Nothing wrong with that. And if it works, I want to be the first one to know. Right. But as paranormal investigators, that's not really what we're doing. But there's nothing wrong with doing that.
Right. I understand what you're saying. You're at a specific location with a specific story.
Correct.
But if you're just walking around in a cemetery and you don't have any specific anything, and you just want to pray for the spirits who are there, and it's a very I think it's something that I do is every time I go by a cemetery, I say a prayer for all the spirits inside.
Well, really a Catholic thing.
Yes. And then, if you want to do that, and you can take some pictures and you can see, and if something happens because of that in response to prayer. I did have one, I know we have to wrap up. I did have one picture that was taken of me when I was praying, and it looked like I had a whole bunch of little orbs all around me while I was praying. And so, that is an positive, energetic thing that you can put out.
Well, we're on this. We're talking about portals a lot in this show, and this all dovetails with what you just said. A lot of time we have found that some of the most haunted cemeteries are old Protestant cemeteries. Now, why old Protestant cemeteries? There's a reason, and it's not because there's a portal, but it will seem like there's a portal there. Let me explain. The old Protestant belief, and you'll see this because they have it etched right on a lot of their tombstones, is they believe it's something called the sleep, where when you die, you don't go up to heaven or hell. You sleep in the grave until the second coming of Christ,
yes.
When he raises the dead, and then comes the judgment. But until then, it's kind of like you're just sleeping in the grave.
Yeah.
So what we believe happens is these people died. And because that was their belief system, and because I believe you still have free will after death, because that was their belief system, they believe that in the grave is where they are supposed to be until the second coming. So a lot of times you'll go into an old Victorian era Protestant cemetery with the big monuments and the spooky headstones and everything, and you'll investigate, and the place lights up like a Christmas tree. Yeah. All your equipment. Why? Because that's where they are. They're there. They're sleeping in the grave, and you can call them, and they, boom, there they are.
Interesting.
And we've had that experience many, many, many times.
What I want to do right now is quickly wrap up, because I know that Spirit Switchboard is coming on with Carrie Lynn Shellhorn, and I want Bobby to be able to give his links, and you have a new store opening up. And I also want to say a brand new book that I did in collaboration with Hammerhead Media. We've got The First Noel, The Legend of Santa Claus. And that's a beautifully written story. And that is available on Amazon and paperback and Kindle by James Baxter.
Perfect. Yeah. Basically, the only thing I want to I do want to talk about your book. I'm part of your book, so I want everybody to buy that. I was just thrilled to be collabed with that. And I've written 2 books, Family Spirits, The Adventures and Evidence of Gallo Family Ghost Hunters, and Family Spirits 2, Purpose and the Paranormal. And I also wrote a 3rd book, but It's not paranormal. I was a professional magician for 15 years, so I wrote a book on how to be a magician
Nice.
called The Magic School Archives. And those could be had if you go to, you'll see my name right here on the screen, and you'll see ghosthunter.ws, not .com, .ws. So it's www.ghosthunter.ws. That goes to my link tree, and all my links are there. The links to my books, the links to our web series, so you can see everything I've talked about on the show tonight, and even the new shop that Annette mentioned. That's also on the link tree.
Beautiful. And I know if Father Shawn were here, he would say his closing prayer and give a blessing. And we want to wish everybody just a wonderful, beautiful, happy holiday season, Merry Christmas, and a great new year. And we love our chatters. We love our listeners. And thanks for tuning in.